Hey guys, this is Callum from EnglishShooting and welcome back to the channel. A topic that many of you have asked for me to cover over the years, and I'm glad to be finally doing it. The Bill of Rights 1689. Now this is hailed as something that we as firearms owners here within the UK should be using to be able to reclaim the right to bear arms, to reclaim certain firearms that we've lost the ability to own here in the UK, and also to use it to be able to own firearms for self-defense. Now, I'm sure many of you already know, if you've been watching this channel, it is actually, as it stands today, illegal to have any object for the purpose of self-defense. And I'm sure, again, you probably know that it can be incredibly hard to own any type of firearm here within the UK without going through rigorous checks and balances and various processes. Now, the Bill of Rights 1689 was brought in after the reign of King James II. Now, he was a bit of a naughty boy, didn't really like Protestants, treated them very different to the Catholics, including removing their ability to bear arms, heavily taxed people, heavily fined people, and pretty much made England a pretty miserable place to live. The Bill of Rights was brought in to reduce the powers and restrict the powers of the monarch, and also to give the Parliament more rights and to be able to balance the country again between Parliament and monarch. But it also brought out a number of rights for subjects, mainly Protestants, and of course the main one that we are looking at is the right to bear arms. There is a right to bear arms within the Bill of Rights 1689, and the specific sentence is that subjects which are Protestants may have arms for their defence suitable to their conditions and as allowed by law. First of all, you can tell that this is written a very long time ago because we're talking about Catholics and Protestants. Within laws today, they are more generalized. Everything needs to be sort of equal and include all diversity. So to specifically have a law straight off the bat that is favoring just Protestants isn't going to fly in the modern age. But the most important segment of that sentence is as allowed by law. That instantly puts a caveat on it. It is not a free-for-all, all-encompassing right. It is as allowed by law. And as we all know, laws can be changed. They are changed every single year. And we've discussed this on the live stream before, and this was my theory without doing the research and looking into it. My theory was always that the Bill of Rights still stands, the right to bear arms still stands, but it had been effectively pigeonholed by all these other newer laws, and that does seem to be the case. This is all been explained and documented by Bill Harriman of the British Association of Shooting and Conservation. It seems that BASC have also had a number of people approach them asking why the Bill of Rights is not being used to be able to defend things like the banning of Mars and lever releases more recently, but also to regain the ownership of handguns and semi-automatic full-bore rifles. And actually reading this article, and I will put a link in the description below because Bill, I think, will do a far better job of explaining it than I will, but it goes back right to 1996 when we lost handguns, and people back then were trying to use the Bill of Rights, or trying to get BASC and other shooting organisations to use the Bill of Rights to be able to prevent the loss of these handguns. And they actually formed the Bill of Rights Association, and we're talking over 20 years ago now, so this has been going on for a long time. Now, first of all, I would say that over this sort of 20 or 30 year period, the fact that we haven't successfully been able to use the Bill of Rights should be a pretty big hint that there might not be as much to it as some people think. But Bill does go through and breaks down why it can't be used, why it's actually been superseded by other laws, and how it is very different to the American Constitution. The most important law that has been brought in that counters this was actually Section 16 of the Firearms Act 1968, which makes it an offence to possess a firearm with intent to endanger the life of another. Even in self-defense, you may be endangering somebody else's life, so having a firearm for that self-defense purpose is potentially going to put somebody else's life in danger. Yes, of course, somebody attacking you is also putting your life in danger. You are allowed to use a firearm for self-defense. You're allowed to use reasonable and justifiable force in your own self-defense, and that can involve any tool or any item that you legally possess. If you legally possess a firearm, you could use that in self-defense, but because of the 1968 Act, you're not allowed to have a gun for that specific purpose. So there are sort of remnants of this Bill of Rights. There are remnants of the right to bear arms within our laws today, within the language that we use today, but in principle and in practice, we wouldn't be able to use it. It is not going to be a defense against any further legislation, or it's not going to be this sort of golden ticket to be able to regain handguns or to be able to regain semi-automatic full-bore rifles. Bill Harriman also goes in to explain the differences between our Bill of Rights and the American Constitution. And fun fact, the American Constitution was actually based off of our Bill of Rights. It was a foundational element in creating the American Constitution. The main difference, as Bill explains, is that the Bill of Rights here is unwritten and is flexible, whereas the Constitution in America is rigid and written. So it's very hard to change. It obviously can be amended because we have the Second Amendment out in the US, the right to bear arms there. That itself was an amendment, but it is much easier here in the UK for Parliament to overrule the Bill of Rights. Again, specifically as allowed by law for the right to bear arms. Parliament can bring in new acts and new legislation that will supersede and overrule the previous Bill of Rights. And that's just, again, a difference between the UK and the US legal system. So yes, I would love, again, for this to be this golden ticket for us to be able to get these firearms back, to be able to open up the ownership of firearms here within the UK, but really this is just wishful thinking. And to be completely honest, I am personally a little bit bored of people coming to me with the Bill of Rights, because every single time I say to them, well, why don't you use it? And this is instantly where things get shut down. People love to come to me and say, look, use this and, get your guns back and, petition to get handguns, and, oh, you don't need to get a firearm certificate, or you don't need to get a shotgun certificate. Just quote the Bill of Rights and you'll be fine. And every time I say, well, have you done it? Have you gone and bought a gun yourself, quoting the Bill of Rights and the right to bear arms? Have you yourself challenged this in court? Have you yourself argued this point with a police officer, or again, a judge or the courts? And every single time the answer is no. So if somebody out there wants to go and try and prove us all wrong, please do so. Obviously, I don't want people going out there and breaking the law, but if you really think there's something to this, go and challenge it in the court. And of course, I am always open to hearing potential bits of legislation that may be the wedge we need to be able to get handguns and full-bore semi-automatic rifles back. So please do let me know of any new bits of legislation or anything you seem to find. But I really think that the Bill of Rights is a dead end as far as lawful firearms ownership within the UK is concerned. And I think it's something that, again, after 20 or 30 years of trying to use it and being reasonably unsuccessful with it, it's something that we should probably focus our attention away from and focus it more onto things like petitions and lobbying government, and also getting organisations like BASC or the Countryside Alliance or even the NRA to actually stick up for firearms ownership and to try and better the firearms laws as they stand. So there we go, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you have any further questions or comments, chuck them down in the comment section below and I'll do my best to get back to you. And as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.